Hello, students of the class of 2024. Please take your seats. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Catlin Gabel School, I welcome all of you to the graduation ceremony for the class of 2024. We are all congregated here today to honor and celebrate our young people who have been nurtured by the incredible teachers at this school and emboldened by its world-class education and curriculum. Let's honor and celebrate effusively this class that embarked on their high school journey from their bedrooms on a Zoom screen. I adore Catlin Gabel School for so many reasons. I expressed my commitment and love for this school by serving as the chair of the Board of Trustees for 3.5 years, and I'm beginning my 10th and final year on the board. Thank you to all of the school's trustees, past and present, some of whom are in the audience today, for the care and support you give our school. Thank you to Board Chair Mark Holliday for giving me this opportunity to speak as a class of 2024 parent. I feel so fortunate to know so many of you personally that are in the audience today. Thank you to all the members of our devoted facilities and tech teams and dedicated staff members that carefully and thoughtfully plan today's events. My father learned to write letters with a stick in the sand in a village in India. No paper and pencil, no chalk and slate. And through his tenacity and grit, went on to get his master's in civil engineering in this country. Education and curiosity have always been his guiding light and is how our family came and grew in the United States. It's fitting that Merle and I chose a school like Catlin Gabel with its mission and values to educate our kids. In fact, in the Catlin Gabel pre-K, our kids also learn to write letters with a stick in the sand. We all chose to be here at Catlin Gabel, and we were chosen to be here. We all thought we were simply getting our kids a great education, united by the fact that we all believe that the education of the whole child is paramount. But whether your child and family joined in the pre-K, the upper school, or somewhere in between, we all got so much more. We have all been blessed with this community, a community that has helped raise, support, and uplift these wonderful young people. Our teachers and administrators and staff bring our school's mission and values to life. Can we offer all of them a round of applause? Alongside these teachers, administrators, and staff, parents, grandparents, guardians, and families gathered here today have worked together to help create these masterpieces on stage and champion them every step of the way. Thank you for that. We all thought that hard work and tuition dollars would grant access to a stellar education. Yes, that's true. But the investment had an even greater return. We have invested in a community of educators, families, and students that have bonded over a lost tooth, a lost paper, the dreaded lice health alerts, league victories, dress codes, COVID tests, the math curriculum, Magnus forms, hybrid education, high school parties, the memories for life. One of my favorite writers and thinkers, Anand Giridharadas, addresses the concept of ambition, and he questions, what are we ambitious about in this world? Is it the next degree, the next job, the next promotion? Rather, should we be thinking about being ambitious in more meaningful and powerful ways? Maybe we should be ambitious about cooking a dinner at home and inviting dear friends over, and everyone starts remembering their own grandmother's love through her cooking. Maybe we should be ambitious about being the friend that is the go-to first phone call for a sick friend or a friend in need. I ask these soon-to-be graduates, and actually everyone here, let's reconsider and reframe ambition. No one regrets not getting a certain job or promotion when reflecting on one's life, but they always regret not taking the time to make deep and meaningful connections and being in community. The skills that these graduates learned growing up in this community, the skills of empathy, leadership, collaboration, agency, reflection, and self-awareness will stick with them as they become a part of new communities in their lives going forward. They know how to be, and they know how to become. Go forth and make connections and build community, class of 2024. Continue to be inspired by your Catlin Gabel community. You are more than equipped with the intellect, skills, and heart to take on any challenge and positively impact the world around you. We need you. Congratulations. Thank you, everyone. And please join me in welcoming to the stage our wonderful head of school, Tim Bazemore.
I'm going to move this over just a little bit without pulling up the tape. Okay, here we are. Congratulations, class of 2024. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to be here. Thank you, Indra, for opening our ceremony and for your many years of service to the school, volunteer, trustee, parent of alumni, parent of senior, right in the front row here, it looks like. Hey, congratulations to all of you. It's a great moment. It's so fun to be on stage with all of you. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of all the teachers and staff here assembled in saying that we have really enjoyed and appreciated the opportunity to be with all of you in your time at Catlin Gabel School. Your enthusiasm, your kindness, your energy. It's been our opportunity and privilege to guide you, to encourage you, just to be with you, especially these last few years in high school. So congratulations. And today, I'm going to challenge you, class of 24, to remember and practice one of the 4 progressive ed principles that we follow here at Catlin Gabel School and has shaped your education, and that's educating for democracy. The other 3 principles, educating the whole child and experiential and inquiry-based learning, are pretty much how we teach and how you learn. Educating for democracy speaks to, as Indra said, who you will become. I think we all know that our social and political fabric is stretched and strained these days, and that around the country there's a disturbing unwillingness to consider different points of view, to listen to each other with sincerity, to reflect on the reasons for one's beliefs, to acknowledge privilege and inequities, and to work together for the common good. And at Catlin Gabel, we believe this is a problem that can be solved. Every day, every year you've been here in classes with these amazing teachers, we have worked to foster these skills and dispositions in all of you. You are uniquely equipped to be the informed, engaged citizens we need, leveraging your talent, which all of you have in so many ways, and this education, right, to achieve your goals and make our democracy function with positive purpose. That doesn't mean you're better than other people, or smarter than other people, or more worthy than other people. But it does mean that you are prepared to lead in ways that will benefit others, both quietly in your daily interactions with people, or more visibly in positions of influence. So in that spirit, I want you to remember 3 lessons under the banner of Educating for Democracy that we believe in here. First, speak up. Speak up. You have a voice. You have ideas. You have beliefs, things you care about. Okay. It's important in our polarized and reactive climate for you to speak up, because too many people are either not speaking up or they're speaking up without listening. The Heterodox Academy, a nonprofit organization, recently surveyed college students, and 3 out of 5 of those college students were hesitant to speak about controversial topics like religion, race, sex, gender, politics, because they fear backlash from classmates. They're self-silencing. That, I think, is an educational and social tragedy. Refusing to engage in dialogue limits your potential and that of others as well. And at the same time, voicing loud and fixed opinions based on binary thinking and moral outrage, online or in person, undermines our collective potential as well. The world and our democracy need you to speak up in the thoughtful ways that we've taught you to here. Second, in addition to speaking up, when you speak up, be humble. You are among the best educated high school seniors in the world. You are. That's reason to be proud. It's also reason to be humble. You'll be a more critical thinker, a more organized student, a better project partner, and a better communicator probably than most of your college peers you'll find next year when you arrive. I hope you're also more humble. Humility is a superpower. We all know it's more rare than common. And it's highly valued by classmates, colleagues, employers, and your friends and family. It's also good for you. And research in the Journal of Positive Psychology tells us that people who are humble have greater happiness and life satisfaction, while also experiencing less depression and anxiety. That's what humility can do for you. Okay? Practice it as an invitation to others, as an admission of fallibility, as an openness to others in the world. And finally, third, in addition to speaking up with humility, be patient. You have a voice, you have agency. It's important to be patient as well. In his book, Confident Pluralism, Washington University professor John Inazu says that democracy requires us all to be patient, to stay in dialogue with others with whom we disagree, to listen actively, to ask different questions, to be open to changing our minds. None of us have the truth or all the perfect information. The world and all of us are dynamic and ever-changing. And all of us are limited in our human capacity to understand everything. So the question is, can you stay curious and patient even when you know you are right? So today you graduate, ready to practice democratic citizenship in these ways, out in the world, without your teachers, without norms, without structures. It's you. You're out there on your own, but you're not alone, and you are equipped. So speak up with humility and with patience. And vote, too, please. Okay? We have great faith in your ability to influence our democracy for the better. We're so proud of you. Congratulations. And now, Senior Ion Sate will do a recitation for us.
Good afternoon. I'm going to be reciting a part of How to Love. When our hearts are small, our understanding and compassion are limited, and we suffer. We can't accept or tolerate others and their shortcomings, and we demand that they change. But when our hearts expand, these same things don't make us suffer anymore. We have a lot of understanding and compassion and embrace others. We accept others as they are, and then they have a chance to transform. Understanding someone's suffering is one of the best gifts you can give another person. Understanding is love's other name. If you don't understand, you can't love. Often, when we say, "I love you," we focus more on the idea of the I that is doing the loving, rather than the quality of the love that is being offered. This is because we are caught by the idea of self. We think we have a self, but there's no such thing as an individual separate self. A flower is made out of only non-flower elements, such as chlorophyll, water, and sunlight. If you were to remove all the non-flower elements from the flower, there would be no flower left. A flower cannot exist by herself. A flower can only interbe with all of us. Humans are like this too. We cannot exist by ourselves alone. We can only interbe. Next is Dave Whitson, who will be our speaker.
Immediately after my first graduation speech at my own high school graduation, I received a phone call from a parent who informed me that I had ruined graduation. My second graduation speech was more positively reviewed. This is the tiebreaker. Let's see how it goes. Class of 2024, I want you to take a moment and reflect on some of your low points from these past years. The tests you failed, the essays that turned out poorly, the presentations where your minds went blank, the shots you missed, the turnovers, the strikeouts, the slow starts where you fell behind, or the stumbles to the finish line. In some ways, those are the easy, hard moments to look back on. Think, too, about when you fell short of being the person you aspire to be. When you let down a friend, when a relationship broke down completely, and maybe when you were to blame. When you failed to operate in a manner consistent with your personal integrity. Think, too, about the moments in these past years when you suffered loss, experienced grief, carried unseen pain with you from day to day. Think about what you felt in the midst of those personal setbacks and losses and calamities. That the world was ending, that you were deficient, that you would never recover, that the world was unfair and capricious and cruel. 13 years of schooling and life. And for all the positive, triumphal moments, it's impossible to escape those 13 years without an accompanying share of defeats, disappointments, despair. And yet one thing is true. You're still here. And families, there have been moments, I'm sure, when you have been consumed with doubt. The fights, the silences, the messes, the slammed bedroom doors, the stretches when you knew so little about what was happening in your children's lives and wished they would tell you more. The times when you felt that for all your dedication and love, you were somehow failing them profoundly. The nights you couldn't sleep, regretting something you said or didn't say, or for not having the slightest idea whether saying something or nothing was the right move at all. How many rounds of internalized recrimination have you endured on your way to this point? But you're still here, too. For all that, at your lowest points, I suspect most of you, maybe all of you, still saw yourselves arriving at this moment, to this culmination of your efforts. You had a vision of success that, consciously or not, was your North Star. It helped to carry you through. It's easy to underestimate the significance of an accomplishment that unfolds incrementally, in drips and drabs, over the vast majority of your life. But arriving at this stage has required steadfast consistency from each of you for 13 years. We are here to celebrate that triumph. But that celebration shouldn't overlook those setbacks and struggles, the personal tragedies and dark nights of the soul that lined the way. Remember them. Remember them now. And recognize that every time you thought you lacked capacity, weren't good enough, weren't smart enough, weren't dedicated enough, weren't enough, you were wrong. Because you're still here. You're still here despite living through this historically complicated time to grow up. This period of rampant anxiety and depression, of chronic insecurity about the future. And here's the thing. We have prepared you exceptionally well to understand the magnitude of those challenges facing us. We have trained you to be critical and incisive and shrewd, to see beyond a false facade of legitimacy, to question authority, to not accept easy answers. And while that's great and commendable and cool, what keeps me up at night sometimes is wondering if maybe, just maybe, in the process of all of that quality learning, we have played our part in exacerbating student anxiety. And understandably, most of the discourse right now is on phones and social media being key drivers of anxiety and depression in young people. And I'm not here to disagree with that. That stuff's toxic. But one of the things we talk about in my class is that the classic reason-emotion dichotomy is nonsense. The belief that emotion is purely irrational is a disservice to every single one of us. Emotions are evidence-based responses, and in so many ways, utterly rational. The students on this stage don't need me to remind them of the events that have marked their young lives. Pandemic and climate change and coup attempts and war in Europe and wildfires and dysfunctional politics and economic instability and worst of all, college admissions. And in the midst of that, you have probably seen in your parents and teachers genuine fear about what the future holds. For all of us, but especially what it holds for you. The confidence and resolution of your elders shaken. The bulwark of your childhood eroded. How can you not be anxious? How can you not be at least a little depressed? Like maybe we should be more worried about the young people who aren't responding in those ways. At nearly every graduation I've attended in recent years, at some point, an adult has discussed existential threat, the failures of our and previous generations, and their confidence in your generation to make a difference. And I don't blame them for that. I could see myself making that speech too. It's a compliment to you, a statement of belief, a recognition that your preparation, talents, and humanity equip you for the road ahead in a manner superior to the rest of us in this room. Tim just acknowledged that. And I think Tim would also agree with me here that we could maybe still give you a few more years to be young before we place that load on your shoulders. And maybe we could do a little more with it in the meantime. Instead of abdicating the future to this generation already, let's remember that we're still here, and hopefully for a while yet. Make no mistake, though, it's a heavy burden that you will carry, and when the time arrives for you to shoulder it, I worry there is one key way we may have not prepared you enough. We have done the right thing, the essential thing, by teaching you to see the challenges for what they are, to appreciate the urgency for action, restoration, and reconciliation. I'm occasionally troubled, though, that we may have failed to balance that blunt realism with optimism and with hope. You might find this hard to believe, but when I was younger, many in my generation, privileged as we were in so many ways, struggled with what felt like a lack of challenges. The Berlin Wall fell, America stood alone as the world's lone superpower, the internet was coming into being, the economy was booming. There were surface-level reasons to believe as well that some of our country's most persistent problems were finally moving in the right direction. And then September 11th happened. I had no framework in my mind to make sense of that day. Driving across the country months later, I saw flags on every overpass. I heard patriotic songs in every supermarket. And a funny thing happened. Despite being a punk kid from the hyper-liberal Pacific Northwest, I found myself getting sucked into the comfort of it, something that I would have been suspicious of years earlier. That wasn't inherently negative. There were places across the country where people came together in beautifully inclusive acts of solidarity that spoke to who we can be in our best moments. But the line between patriotism and aggressive nationalism is perilously thin. And I felt the allure of that illusory assertion of shared strength as well. I wanted conflict, collision, impact. When we are scared and we need someone to hold, it takes only the smallest of manipulations to interpret that instead as needing someone to hit. I've spent years trying to understand what was happening to me and others in those moments. In his book, Fear, Corey Robin looks at how national thought leaders were seeing the sunny side of fear in those days. Frank Rich argued that as horrific as 9/11 was, it awoke us from a frivolous, if not decadent, decade-long dream. David Brooks, meanwhile, wrote that the fear would wash away a lot of the self-indulgence of recent years. In the wake of tragedy, we somehow came to believe that fear was a cleanser. It would make us pure, strong. It would give our lives meaning once again. Michael Ignatieff summed up the 20th century by noting that the idea of human universality rests less on hope than on fear, less on optimism about the human capacity for good than on dread of human capacity for evil, less on a vision of man as maker of his history than of man the wolf toward his own kind. And I saw all of that in myself. At that moment, my friend and I decided to try something different. Having found ourselves psychologically paralyzed, or worse, reflexively inclined towards aggression, because of a tragedy we were unprepared to manage, we sought wisdom from those who had experience in navigating these terrible paths, enduring trauma and emerging from the other side. We first took students to Poland to speak with extermination camp survivors, as well as young people growing up next to Auschwitz-Birkenau, trying to understand how you navigate a childhood spent within or adjacent to one of the world's darkest manifestations of human evil. In the years that followed, we took other students to speak with participants in the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa, victims of the dirty war in Argentina and Chile, survivors of the Rwandan genocide, and Canada's Indian residential schools. At the heart of it, we wanted to understand one thing: how can we respond to tragedy and terror without perpetuating greater tragedy? And over again, the answer has been clear: to meet that tragedy with optimism and hope and love. We spoke with Thulani Mabaso in South Africa. Mabaso was 19 years old when he was arrested on terrorism charges. He was incarcerated on Robben Island, an infamous prison 4 miles off the coast of Cape Town. One was sent there to disappear, to be removed from the world. A young Nelson Mandela was incarcerated there in 1964. He spent a full 18 years, the length of your lives to this point, in that island prison. I wanted to know how Mabaso and his peers were able to emerge from incarceration with a focus on reconciliation, on building South Africa into a rainbow nation, a place of equality for its many ethnic groups. Mabaso said that the leaders in prison, Mandela, Sisulu, Mbeki, among others, were explicit in cultivating a vision of the future. A time would come, Mabaso was led to believe, when the door would open, a path would emerge, and it was their job to be ready. So they went to school, teaching each other what they knew. They developed the skills and temperament necessary to organize and lead. And they insisted upon the rejection of revenge, recognizing that it would only compound the catastrophe the country had endured. There was no room for bitterness or resentment. They depersonalized apartheid, emphasizing that the system had dehumanized them all, that all South Africans had suffered from living in injustice. We are far too quick to dismiss optimism as intellectual treacle, and by contrast, to glorify pessimism as a manifestation of wisdom, to elevate cynicism as a lifestyle. And certainly there are times when a superficial, empty-handed optimism does a disservice to us all, inspiring passivity when urgency is required. But the optimism I'm calling for is the stuff of those men in Robben Island, working for decades steadfastly with the resolve necessary to be ready, with the bravery to reject tempting and unsavory responses when the tables finally turned. I'm calling for hope as Václav Havel, fighting communist rule in the former Czechoslovakia, saw it. Hope in this deep and powerful sense, he said, is not the same as joy that things are going well, or willingness to invest in enterprises that are obviously headed for early success, but rather an ability to work for something because it is good, not just because it stands a chance to succeed. The more unpropitious the situation in which we demonstrate hope, the deeper that hope is. Hope, he added, is the certainty that something makes sense regardless of how it turns out. It is also this hope above all which gives us the strength to live and continually to try new things, even in conditions that seem as hopeless as ours do, here and now. On my first Catlin Gabel student trip, I took students from my transitional justice elective with Brett Mathis to Victoria, Canada, to attend their Truth and Reconciliation Commission on Indian residential schools. Finally, after 180 years, Canada was facing its history, reckoning with abuse and neglect and despair. We listened to hours of harrowing testimony, First Nations people sharing the darkest moments of their lives, experiences no human should endure. Finally, we had the opportunity to speak directly with two elders, Barney Williams and Ray Seacher. As with Mabaso, we hope to understand how one might grapple with this long-delayed reckoning. What would you want in that moment of recognition? I can tell you what Ray wanted. First, he said, "What I need is to be able to say, I forgive you." Barney affirmed this. We must get past our anger of others. But at the same time, he noted, our hearts are warm because we realize there are people that care. And after that, the next step, Ray said, would be a celebration. Because they didn't succeed. Because we're still here. We're still here. Over and over again, those who have endured tragedy on a scale that defies most of our understanding arrive at similar kinds of conclusions. We can't undo the harm that was done to them, but maybe we can honor their experience by trying to learn from them. You have become very good at calling out things that are wrong, at acknowledging and validating victimhood, at advocating for accountability, at owning up to your own limitations. So too have you built up your persistence and resilience, your ability to endure hard things. Those are essential first steps, but those are not endpoints, and I think we sometimes treat them as such. Instead, from there, we have to create a vision of a world worth pursuing, one to uplift and inspire, to carry us through the harder days between now and then, and to work relentlessly with optimism that we will one day achieve it. There's an old saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. That's come to carry cynical connotations, the profiteers looking to capitalize on panic and instability. But the flip side is also true. Crisis creates possibilities for change of all kinds, for positive transformation even. It's undeniable the years ahead pose challenges for us all. But maybe there is an opportunity to emerge better, stronger, more humane, and equitable for all the struggle. It's important that you believe that, because you're still going to be here for a while. And in the end, that orientation of the spirit might help you to make a better world. But regardless, it will certainly enable you to live better lives. Thank you.
You know how I feel. Sun in the sky. You know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by. You know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom, blossom on a tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when day is done, that's what I mean. And this old world is a new world and a bold world for me. Oh yeah. Stars when you shine, you know how I feel. Scent of the pine, you know how I feel. Your freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. Feeling good, oh, you know, so good.
I'm so honored to be here today. Firstly, I would like to thank my family for all of the late nights spent working on homework, the years of love and support, and all of the laughs and good times we have. Their unwavering belief in me has kept me going when I struggled to believe in myself. I would also like to thank our teachers for all of the interesting classes I love to gush about, the understanding offered to all students, and the little hallway conversations that we have every day. I'd like to thank Dave also for setting me up so wonderfully for my speech. That wasn't planned, but lastly, I would like to thank all of my classmates, my friends, for the fond memories I have of the years that I've been at Catlin. I remember being out at recess, digging dust mines under the art building, playing our squeaky recorders for revels, screaming in the black box as we cast St. George, or cracking jokes and laughing during classes or breaks. I'm lucky to have made so many incredible memories, and I feel so much love for everyone here today. I would like to start off with a quote from the late Congressman John Lewis, who was an outspoken leader of the civil rights movement. He said, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble." This quote reminded me of our grade's story of trying to move away from despair and towards hope. A few months ago, I was at lunch and overheard someone talking about how they felt no joy in their life. That struck a chord with me. It's something many of us struggle with. We focus on the bad things in our life and the world around us. Entering high school is supposed to be a big moment, the first step into the realm of independence that awaits us, full of new friends and joyful moments. COVID burst that bubble. We found ourselves entering 9th grade feeling anxious, depressed, and alone. We struggled with the lack of human interaction, the sharp uptick in workload once we returned, and the loneliness that both Zoom and masked social distancing brought us. Many of us felt deprived of joy in the pandemic, each of us lost in a sea of despair. I think that left a deep impression on us, that caused us to focus on the negatives in life, even when there was good around us. Close to a year into the pandemic, when the sharpness of my anxiety was only dulled by depression and loneliness, I made a resolution to myself that something had to change. I tried to find little things to make me happy, tried to focus on the good in my life, however small it may have seemed. A pretty bird outside my window, beautiful spring sunsets with dark clouds and golden sun, a flower with especially bright petals. Slowly, I found myself finding not only joy in my day-to-day life, but something else too, hope. COVID was a time where we all came together in support of one another. We formed group chats where new students were welcomed in, texting about homework or chatting outside class. Zoom rooms and group calls formed to play games or watch movies. When we returned to campus, our grade felt like an entirely different culture, more supportive and understanding, more open and appreciative, and it only seemed to grow stronger over the years. Our sophomore year, still filled with masks, but also the bonding born out of commiserating the increasing homework load together, laughing on little weekend trips around the city as we got our licenses one by one. Junior year finally felt like we were back to a sort of normal, and we enjoyed the newfound freedom of parking on campus and driving out to lunch. We debated the supremacy of American studies or English and US history, while simultaneously trying to claim that our class had more right to complain than the other. We visited colleges across the country and took global trips to parts of the world we'd never been to, sharing pictures of our broadening horizons. And this year, our final year, we all turn 18, adults in the eyes of the world. We struggled through the fall, pouring our hearts out into short little essays that were passed among close friends for thoughtful review. We stayed up late night after late night to finish those papers or reports or presentations. Now we've made it here. We all know what college we're going to. The work is done, and our time together is coming to a close. Summer is here, with warming weather and blooming plants. like it was when I decided to change my outlook on the world. Looking back on it all, I can easily say that these 4 years have been the craziest, hardest, and best years of my life so far. Our grade embraces each other, openly and wholeheartedly. Each of us has grown and matured so much. I have seen us all do amazing things together, and when I look at our class, I see a lot to be hopeful for. The future can seem bleak when you look at it, especially now. I worry a lot about politics, climate change, AI, and technology. Problems are everywhere if you're looking for them, and a lot of us are. We got used to it. I don't think that these problems will go away on their own, but I do feel optimistic. When I laugh so hard that tears stream down my face over a stupid joke with my friends, or we engage in sincere, deep conversation about politics or existence over Shake Shack and Share Tea, I can't help but feel that everything's going to be okay someday, somehow. Don't take that statement to mean that we should forget all our issues, disconnect from the world, and assume that everything will be fine. I don't have the blind faith type of optimism where I can kick my feet back, assured that people will work things out themselves. What I have is hope. Optimism that comes from seeing our class grow from a group of loud little kids screaming and fighting over toys to the group of passionate, thoughtful young adults we all are today. We've all matured so much since preschool, myself included. Physically, yes, we got taller and no longer speak in squeaky child voices, but emotionally, more than anything, we care about the issues facing us today. All of us are more than capable of doing the hard work that needs to be done in order to make something happen. Look for ways to be hopeful about the future. When we get lost in a sea of despair, when we wallow in the feeling that our issues are insurmountable and our actions are meaningless, then we get mired in our own anxieties and no change will happen. But when we come together, when we believe that we can create a positive impact on the world around us, then we can accomplish incredible things. Just us here today, as the self-assured and passionate people we've become, is living proof that a community coming together can bring about change. So look for joy in your life. Take a moment to appreciate your friends, your family, your community. What an incredible world we live in. Let whatever it is that brings you joy motivate you, drive you forwards down whatever path you may be walking. We are smart, creative, critical thinkers, and we have an abundance of resources, technology, and incredible opportunities lying ahead of us. Seek the things that make you happy or that you may unexpectedly find yourself caring about. Make good, necessary trouble about them without fear of judgment. Allow yourself to make the world a better place by doing so. I would like to end with another quote that I hope you all will carry forward with you. A quote that doesn't encapsulate the story of our grade so far, but that embodies the essence of what I believe all our futures will look like. It comes from my namesake, Eleanor Roosevelt. The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. So as my final message to you as the class of 2024, before we go our separate ways, I tell you, go live your lives. Enrich your worldview with new friends and different ideas. Believe that you can make a difference. Take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. Take joy in the experience. I think if we all can do that, then everything just might turn out all right. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is John DiLorenzo, and I was the Catlin Gabel Student Body President this past year.
And my name's Les Robinson, and I was the Vice President. And today, in addition to celebrating our own class's graduation, we would like to take some time to appreciate and recognize the head of the upper school, Aline Garcia Rubio, who will be leaving Catlin with us this year.
Aline began working at Catlin 20 years ago, starting as a substitute teacher. It wasn't long before people took note of her exceptional teaching abilities, and she was hired as an upper school science teacher. Throughout her time, she took on numerous leadership positions as department chair, dean of students, and assistant division head. In 2017, she became head of the upper school. During her time here, she has made an immeasurable impact on Catlin Gabel and every student so grateful to learn under her leadership. I have had the pleasure to serve with Aline on the Board of Trustees and learn from her leadership as a mentor.
Her presence truly makes everyone in the upper school feel known, seen, and appreciated. She is really the glue that has held Catlin together while we've rebuilt our community, traditions, and culture after returning to campus from online school.
Thank you, Aline, for everything you have done for the school. You have had an incalculable impact on every single student, and you will be dearly missed. Now we're going to hand it off to Naveen Alakrishnan to say a few words of appreciation.
Aline Garcia Rubio started her Catlin Gabel journey in her junior year of high school as a part of the class of '93 as an exchange student. After her 1 year at Catlin, she went back to Mexico City to go to medical school. Aline then found her way back at Catlin again in 2004 as a substitute teacher, and in 2007 was then hired full-time and quickly advanced up the ladder to her position of the upper school head in 2017. Aline's commitment to Catlin has been nothing short of extraordinary. She has worked incredibly hard while keeping the core values of Catlin at the top of her mind. I have known Aline for a lot of my life, as I met her in my pre-K year, and when my family moved to Singapore the following year, Aline graciously connected us with her sister in Singapore to ensure that we had some community connections as soon as we arrived. That is just one example of how Aline builds community and goes above and beyond. I was then fortunate enough to have Aline as my CNC advisor for the past 2 years in high school, and she has been one of the most influential people in my life. Whether our CNC was sharing food, playing Pictionary, or sitting around talking, Aline's first words to me and every other individual in the room was always, "How are you?" Aline cares deeply about every student she has interacted with and always makes an effort to connect with everyone on a deeper level. Aline's impact goes well beyond students. Teachers have described her as the best boss ever, and she shows up for everyone, and most importantly, Aline is extremely supportive of people and of any new ideas. Whenever I had a question about anything, the first person I asked was always Aline, because I knew she would answer me honestly and guide me with her strong moral core. Aline is extremely unique, as in spite of her leadership position that could intimidate students, she makes students feel comfortable being honest and having meaningful conversations with her. I have truly been inspired by the way Aline leads by example and the way she is able to create unity within every environment she finds herself in. The Catlin Gabel community has greatly benefited by Aline's time here, and her work will leave a lasting impression on the school. And although I really don't love the school you're going to, she is going. We all know you will do amazing things in the next step of your professional career. I now invite all of you to please stand up and give Aline a round of applause and wish her the very best of luck. I would now like to invite up Olivia Murray on stage to share some more words.
Mummy, it carries no exaggeration when those in your life comment on your intelligence and grace. It speaks for itself that you carry it with you wherever you go. I've been lucky to witness this tried and true from your workplace to your home. In no way does your love and labor go unnoticed. From your first day working at Catlin to the present, the day that we have the opportunity to graduate together, you've touched the lives of hundreds, never hesitating to go above and beyond, and never losing sight of your values and shared mission. A true leader in mind and in spirit, your authenticity and dedication to Catlin and each community that you form a part of has inspired others to strive further and fuller and has proven to be an unshakable glue. I hear this much often: you are a force to be reckoned with, and you demonstrate it every day. I take true pride in being your daughter, the same way I know many take pride in saying, I am her student, I am her mother, I am her friend. I hope you know how appreciated you are. Most of all, I hope you feel all those who love you behind your back, cheering you on with all their power as you exercise your own. Your story has shown that it is through nothing but your own work, talent, and character that you have arrived at where you stand today. I hope you know how special you are. Go break some new ground. I love you. Te amo.
Aline, could you please come up to the stage so we can give you some small gifts of appreciation for everything you've done?
I think we do the diplomas next.
So having satisfied the requirements for graduation from the Catlin Gabel School, we are proud to present diplomas to the class of 2024.
Oliver Cole Pushkis. Pia Alma Patrickson. Dana Tull. Bristol Hager. Sophia Jade Rutman. Nathan Samuel Merrill. Daniel Shen. Olivia June Morrison. Perrin Underwood Anderson. Leonard Zhao Yan. Miles Araki Wallahan. Angelina Huyen Nguyen. Emily Maylin Zhang. Ava Pearl Austria. Seth Gabriel Rosenfeld. Sofyan Mohammed Smahi. Nick Woodley Raggio Cover. George Leitner Post. Alexander Sky Hanul Johnston. Efe Avja. Harper Keeney Davis. Tessa Hitchcock. Isabel Ostrowski. Amanda Corinna Phillips. Holland Swan. Ava May Garzotto. Sloan Trefskar Warmkessel. John Sebastiano Giuseppe Guglielmo di Lorenzo. Kyle David Olson. Derek Choi. Eliza Martine Robinson. Carter Lawrence Alfrey. Ema Adair Kennerly. Torin Arette Huff. Eleanor Kathleen Herbst. Oliver Jack Challey.
Adriana Sophia Morosco. Olivia May Levy. Hodge Dollar. Evangeline Victory Newton. Milo Alexander Stout. Andrew Xu. Nathan Chen. Maya Celine Whitaker. Lewis Anderson. Raul Alexander Rendon Benitez. Owen Daniel Jones. Adrian Lauren Tam. Eva Vu Stern. Gaia Gonzalez Gonzalez. Claire Elizabeth Drucker. Campbell Jean Swaim. Jackson Julius Gutman. Ion Sate. Joshua Abraham Widows. Giacomo Ku Cox. Adam Robert Maynard. Violet Frances Bowis Van Nood. Adrian Chasovsky. Solveig Darby Holland Palmer. Lily Mae Keno Arentz. Amari Kelohi Isoto Kainoa. Campbell Grace Keys. Rufus Rainier Gleason. Owen Het Chenoweth. Matthew Thomas Vestergaard. Abigail Ariel Fisher. Kalani Brielle Heston. Naveen Gopal Nalakrishnan. Oscar Rooney Goranson. Olivia Murray Garcia. Donald Alfred Herrera Ruther. Mahala Lee Lambert.
This is a good view. It's good to see you. Dear trustees, colleagues, families, graduates, you're actually graduates now, you have your diploma. Friends, first of all, thank you for gathering, for showing up once again, as you have for years, to mark a transition, a celebration. To be here for and with each other, but primarily for them. And also thank you for all the years of guiding these young people. I have the honor of having witnessed their growth and the great honor to have shared in joy and awe with the faculty, the parents, sometimes the grandparents here today. I'm grateful for this shared education, for the communal raising of our children. Let's get a visual reminder of the network of support for the class of 2024. If you have ever provided a meal or have cleaned up, any kind of cleaned up, for a person on this stage, please raise your hand. Graduates, take a look at this room of people who have cared for and about you. Can we raise hands again? That's a lot of us. A lot of care over a lot of years. Soups, bedtime stories, loads of conversations, guidance, some humor, an occasional Band-Aid, so that each of you and the group as a whole could feel and be strong. Have your intellect develop, exist competently. Understand a little bit about how things work, and be ready for adulthood. In that care, we are connected. If we drew lines of connection between everyone in this large auditorium, all of those who raised their hands, it would form a web, a good web. Graduates, that's the web of care between the people here that has been holding you. You have worked hard to get here, and so have many more than you. We form a whole, and I, for one, am proud and grateful for it. Let's thank each person here who has supported you and supported each other in your upbringing. A thank you to the web. There's a subgroup of people who have helped shape your brains. They've shown you how to hear the cadence of a poem, taught you Emily Dickinson, James Baldwin. They've shown you about lines and slopes, whether you wanted to learn about lines and slopes or not. They practiced how to reason with you. They pointed to your errors to help you improve, write more effectively with elegance and concision. They helped you understand some of life: photosynthesis, economics, theater, gravity, existentialism, government, self-care, evolution. I could keep going. Your teachers are here to witness and celebrate you one last time. I'd like to recognize their work. Dearest faculty, please allow me just once more to ask you to stand. Class of 2024, at this point, you've gotten roughly 15 years of advice from some of us, and you've gotten a fair amount today. You may want no more counsel. I thought much about what recommendations to offer. I considered pointing out that you get a choice of whether you will use your well-trained intellect to do good. I considered reminding you that it is actually important to clean up after yourself. I wanted to remind you that every job done with good intention and full effort is dignified and worthy. But I chose to talk about something else. You may have heard of the Harvard Happiness Study. Essentially, someone has been tracking the well-being and health of about 270 people since 1930. Most of these folks have now died, but a few are alive and in their 90s. The nature of this sample is skewed, given who was going to an elite school after the Depression. However, the research has expanded. It first included some other Bostonians, and then it broadened further and further, making the conclusions quite relevant. The findings hold up. The gist of the results is that close relationships, more than money or fame, keep people happy throughout their lives. Those ties, the web in this room, so to speak, protect people from life's discontents. Our connections help delay mental and physical decline, and they are better predictors of long and happy lives than social class, IQ, even genes. Close relationships. That is what I wish for you, for the rest of your lives. If I had a magic wand to give to all of you today, that's what I would give you. But wishes seem insufficient, so I'm going to offer some advice in the service of that wish, despite the fact that you've gotten so much advice. I really do believe that we each have agency in shaping our lives. Work to develop a compassionate understanding of other people. You might see our commonalities through understanding. We really are a lot alike. And yes, we're different. If you develop that understanding, on some occasions, you may find affection, even love. What I'm talking about is the consideration that all of us, every person, every one of your peers on stage, carries internal complexities. Each human, each of us, we're responding to some challenges. We might feel inadequate. Even on a day like today, we might feel inadequate. Our dog may be dying. A family member may have cancer. We have to leave our home. Sometimes we feel lonely. We're in physical pain. Or it's just a hard day. If you're able to attune to the fact that he and she and he and they and he too is feeling, thinking, facing some complexity, and you become a little curious about what that's about, you will develop compassion and understanding for others. You might have to ask yourself, what might Izzy have heard from her sister this morning? There's a door into connection, to relationships, if you ask about the people near you. You have to pause and see. You have to open the door. That's if you want that for yourself. There's a podcast I listen to in which Arthur Brooks explores what brings people happiness. And at the end of each episode, he includes audio of people describing when they were last truly happy. Listeners tell stories about laughing with friends while making pancakes, helping a colleague retrieve a broken car, reuniting with loved ones at an airport, playing, succeeding at something that feels hard. I'll take a page from his book and I'll ask you, when was the last time that you felt truly happy? What were you doing? What was the context? If you're like most people, this memory will likely include at least one other person. Hold that memory for a second. You have it? In the background, thinking of that memory, I ask you today, what do you want out of your life? What for you will determine whether your life is well spent? This might seem a little dark, but it really isn't. Those who have sat near fellow humans who are dying, people like Dr. Murthy, our Surgeon General, or my mom, who's in the audience. They tell us that in the final reflections of a person's life, independent of age or culture, a life's path, people talk about relationships. They talk about the people they loved, the people who broke their hearts, the people who they wish they had forgiven, those who they wish they had spent more time with. They remember the details, someone's laughter, the way that the key clicked into the doorknob of their home. They remember singing in cars with friends, sharing quiet time comfortably. I think about this as I consider what a life well lived might be. But this isn't about me. In your commencement, what would your life well spent be like? Listen to yourself for a minute. It is fair to say that what's next is largely unknown, even if you know where you're going, and if you have like a perfect picture of that dorm or a boat or wherever you might be next. That future is pregnant with bright anticipation, all sorts of desires and projections for the future. Some of you already know you want to be educators or scientists, entrepreneurs, politicians, filmmakers. I hope you all are somewhat comfortable with that uncertainty, the uncertainty within the certainty. It will be different from what you planned for, but if you decide to see it as such, it will be meaningful and positive. Please remember that you can turn just about anything into a positive. That's the optimism that Dave talked about, and Scrooge talked about, coincidence. You have that choice every day. In this open future, I encourage you to design what you do. Think about it. Design what you do, your learning, your play, your work, your interactions with your current family, your interactions with the family you might form with relationships in mind. Shine some light on other people. Try to connect. I truly believe that if you do, you will add meaning to whatever your life well spent might look like. You will have a brighter success in your job, your education, your friends, with your partners. Cultivate relationships, sustain them, and let them evolve too. Your relationships would evolve, the ones between each other. Milo labeled this community building when considering his work with Hen. Perrin called it created a connected group when she discussed her rock climbing. Cultivating and caring for relationships requires a few deliberate behaviors. I want to address 3 specific things for you. Beware of righteousness. This is a little bit of what Dave was talking about. Righteousness will extinguish connection. You have in your path at Catlin Gabel will, with discipline and consistency, refine your mind. You've become quite proficient plus Rufus, at critical thinking. You can probably dissect any idea and form analytical arguments on anything. You've also been trained by this Western world and our most modern culture to see the world in dualities. Good, bad, right, wrong. Your tribe, not your tribe. This group versus that group. There's some real strengths in your critical thinking and your capacity to form strong opinions. We've worked at that together. There are certainly benefits to spending time with those we have an affinity toward. It's lovely. There are also a few dangers in embodying criticism and thinking in dualities. Because as you know, you, individually, are much more complex than any side of a duality. And so is everyone else. Righteousness will cause you to miss out on the multitudes that exist within each of us. Really, within each of us. The stuff that makes Andrew want to build a telescope, the energy that makes Campbell get up and train every day, even if she's sleep deprived, the instincts that make Holland be relentlessly positive, the stuff that motivates Dave to walk across continents, the stuff that makes Bub wants to ski without poles. Thank you, by the way, to Bob and to Dave for your unique minds, your multitudes, your shared thought, and your relentless work with us. I wouldn't want to miss out on any one of these people's nuances. The richness in us humans comes from that complexity. There's one really big risk in being too sure of our opinions, in being too righteous. We might find ourselves feeling superior, losing the humility that Tim was talking about. And in that, we separate ourselves from everyone else. The gap is deadly to love. To avoid this, when you feel quite sure of something, use your best critical thinking skills and scrutinize your own position. Remember your teachers and how they taught you to do that. That's my second suggestion to you. Examine your own thinking. As Socrates said about 2,500 years ago, it's been a while, I'm paraphrasing and possibly expanding an idea here. He suggested way back then that it is essential to a life well lived for it to be examined. So when you're feeling quite sure about something or someone, craft the best opposing view to your reasoning. Then sit with that perspective as if it were the truth, capital T. Maybe, just maybe, Patrick was right about aliens being superior to Predator. No, seriously, practice the possibility of being at least partly wrong. My third and last suggestion for building a web of relationships, whether these be in the context of a common goal, affection, or deeper love, is to listen to others. To listen. Truly listen. Shut down all the screens. I know, there comes Aline with the screens. Shut down all the screens. Make eye contact. Still your body. And pay attention. You still your body and you go like this. I view the situation this way. But Pia, what do you think about it? And then really listen. I have a young cousin who every year on her birthday asks family members what they remember from turning her age. When we tell our stories, she hears them and she connects us. Today, tonight, and tomorrow, I recommend that you sit with one person from your family, anyone who's celebrating your success, and ask them about their high school graduation. What do they remember? How did that feel? What do people tell them? Maybe they didn't get as much advice as you're getting today. Ask and then pay attention. Truly listen. Try to still your mind so you can do so. The power of our minds can be overly active. This causes us to sometimes be overly worried. We lose our perspective. If I'm overly concerned about whether my red shoes are red enough or whether I sound appropriately smart to be talking to you, or if I simply want this part of my day to be over, I might fail to see who you are. That you are here on stage in this special moment, that each of you is unprecedented, that we have gathered here with goodwill, that Nick is wearing a medal. In case you haven't noticed, let me spell out something that every single one of us lives with. Beyonce, John Harnato, Tim Bazemore, we all carry a little bit of insecurity. This is simply human. Our monkey minds remind us about those insecurities all the time, or at least on occasion. It questions if things are going our way, if we're good enough, if we're worthy. You are. Every single one of you. But stating that truth doesn't simply stop the mind noise. The noise can be like the tunnel in 26, except with words. It can be loud, it can be deafening at times. It tells us stories about what happened 3 days ago on the Malala River as you were battling the current. Or it gets consumed by what might happen tonight at the party, or what might take place when you get to the end of August. More often than not, it's not about what's happening right now. And most of it is noise. It can be really distracting from what's actually going on. You can quiet this down. It takes a bit of practice, like most things, but you can get good at it if you work deliberately. Like Raul and Angie do to get good at soccer. Like you all did to learn to tie shoelaces some time ago. Repeatedly, with patience and effort and a sense of humor. The quieting I suggest you work on is in service of living your life fully, and also in service of connecting. So go build your web, center relationships, keep your optimism, please try to avoid righteousness. And remember what Annie Dillard wrote about our daily life. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. What we do this hour and that one, that is what we're doing. You are building your life brick by brick, this hour and the next, from here until we see you again, hopefully at an alumni reunion. So go and shape your life to be what you want it to be. Find your success. I like how Maya Angelou defines it. She says, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. I add, in what you do, cultivate relationships for a brighter success. I wish for you, for your commencement, that you will find love in that effort. Remember what you have heard at Catlin Gabel. I gain nothing if I don't have love, or if I have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. Congratulations, graduates. I present the class of 2024.